Hello, happy September 2025. I am Dr. Alana McLaughlin. I'm a naturopathic doctor here to help share more information about how to live more naturally, to be more energized. And today's topic is on metabolic health, which I am finding to be really, really excited about lately because I think so many more people are coming to me and they're seeing changes and results even within a couple of weeks, within a month. And this is very, very exciting because this is one that people will go to their doctor and say, you're going to be on this medication. You're going to have this diagnosis for the rest of your life. And you don't have to. There are other ways. So let's unwind this and what it really means. We talked yesterday about metabolic health and what that actually looks like in a person. So if you're going in and it's out of balance, there's 5 factors that they will use to diagnose you as a metabolic syndrome, actually, which includes your blood pressure being elevated, your blood sugar levels being dysregulated on the high side, your triglyceride levels in your labs being elevated, your good cholesterol, your HDL being low, and then also the circumference of your waist, of what that measurement looks like. So if you have 3 of those 5, you can earn this diagnosis, and there are usually specific medications that will then be prescribed to you to help. However, the more recent medications that are being used to help, as in the weight loss category, yes, people are seeing results. In some people, this has completely changed their health. So I'm not taking that away from anybody. However, what I'm hearing more and more about is people saying, yes, I've lost a lot of weight, but I feel terrible. My energy is low. I'm not sleeping well. My hormones are low. I don't have libido. I don't have the get up and go that I need. And part of this is because with those, you're not just losing fat mass, you are losing your muscle mass as well. So I like to show just there are other options where you actually become more energized. You start to bring all of these factors into balance with a few areas of addressing and then adding in even just one or a few very targeted supplements that I am seeing incredible results with. I had another friend reach out yesterday, and I'll share a little bit more on that of just the shift that she has seen in the last month, which is so exciting considering it was, I want to say 2017 is about when I met her, and ever since then her blood pressure has never been well regulated with medications or anything. And for the first time in a dentist's office, even her blood pressure is now within normal range. And there's only one thing she added in consistently for the last month. So what do we do to unwind and kind of give ourselves a different path? What I like to say, and what I went over yesterday, there are 4 key factors. The first one is nutrition. And this is such a big topic. We talked about Whole30 and what that looks like, of eliminating processed foods, of eliminating sugar, using natural sweeteners instead, and how much that can jumpstart your transition, your transformation, if you will. And it can be very, very hard those first few days, but then you get this energy and your taste buds change to where a carrot from, this time, this is harvest time, a carrot out of the ground tastes so good. You can actually taste the sweetness. And the foundation I also emphasize, if anything at all with nutrition, is protein, is getting in 15 to 20 grams of protein 4 to 5 times a day. And for people, the easy way to look at it, it's about the size of the palm of your hand for each person. Our healthy fats and oils is about a tablespoon or about the size of your thumb. Our fruits or vegetables should be about 2 palm sizes when we're putting our meals together. Fruits should fit, about in our hand, not like these gigantic apples you can get nowadays. And just based on those few tips, and nuts and seeds, your grains or whatnot are about the fit in the cup of your hand. So easy to use, easy guideline. And if we're getting that protein as the main focus, 4 to 5 times per day, I hear all the time people are like, I'm not hungry in the morning. I don't feel like eating. But I challenge you to try starting to eat a little bit of protein. If it has to be a shake, go for it. If you're a egg type of person, or sausage, or I shift into kind of healthier fats with that protein. But however you can get it in, that stimulates your metabolism. that gets the fire burning right away. Because so often too with as I mentioned, some of the different things happening and this metabolism, is that it has slowed down. Instead of burning what we're consuming, it is slowing down and holding on to everything that you consume. Sometimes this is because you're not actually even getting enough calories. Sometimes it's because we're not sleeping well. Sometimes it's the cortisol or the stress. And this is a factor that these ones that I'll unwind for you during this video. So that's the first step, is protein. Can you get it in? And some people don't do all the animal proteins there. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't have to be. So I love Dr. Axe as a resource, Dr. AXE. If you research top sources of protein or vegetable-based proteins, he will have a resource where you can read about why is protein important, what does it look like, and these are these foods that you can eat to reach your goals. I use him for a lot of resources. I mentioned him yesterday, his website too, on conditions X, Y, and Z and natural ways to support them. He has a great, great website. And a lot of the information is things that I don't have time to share in a visit. So I really appreciate that resource. Anyway, so using your protein sources, it can be a hard-boiled egg that you take with you to work, or an easy protein shake, or nut butter and apples, or celery and nut butter, or something like that. So you can get creative with how to get that protein in to where it becomes easy. And when you're out running errands, like I've had some patients say, instead of being like, oh, I'm really hungry right now, I'm going to go through a drive-through. Like, no, I have a snack prepared either in my bag or at home that I'm going to go home and eat instead. So that already reduces a lot of carbohydrate when we already have it planned out of what we are actually going to eat during the day, or somewhat of an idea. So next step after nutrition is looking at the cortisol levels in the body. Cortisol is actually beneficial in the short term. It is this survival hormone that helps us heal faster in the immediate sense. But most of people nowadays are at this level of cortisol. The threshold is here when it should be here. So we have too much cortisol all the time, which then stops our digestive processing. So it relates to this nerve called the vagus nerve, which is from the brainstem and comes down behind the ear, down in front of the throat. It innervates or goes into our diaphragm, our heart, our intestines, our digestive organs. And when this vagus nerve is happy and we are in this rest and digest, calm, parasympathetic mode, our enzymes and stomach acid are being secreted. Our motility, the movement of our muscles in our small intestines and digestive tract, are working. So our food gets to break down, gets to be absorbed through the small intestine, and then we easily eliminate the waste and absorb what we want. However, if we're in stress mode, that nerve gets told, oh, not your time right now. We have this stress situation going on, so none of that gets to happen. So you're driving through the drive-through, or you're in a rush eating, but you're not secreting the enzymes and stomach acid to break things down. So then maybe you get bloating or gas or this cramping when you eat, especially like proteins in the stomach, because the stomach acid isn't there. Or you get the bloating because the carbohydrates are being broken down in your gut instead. So we get to shift this, and I can support those particular areas while we're working on our rest and digest around mealtime, but through different enzymes and whatnot. But that's a side point. The main factor there is how do we bring this mindfulness to our eating patterns? How do we manage this cortisol? Because that's only one example of where it's going to play through. So I bring that up because, in connection with our first tip of more protein, if you're not digesting that protein, it's not going to feel well. So we need to see, are we also supporting our own body for breaking that protein down so we can actually get those amino acids, so we can build our lean body mass rather than pulling from our muscles because we need protein sources. So second one with the cortisol, as our number 2 also, is this pattern of how cortisol interacts with our systems, our rhythms during the day. Our cortisol should be coming up in the morning as our melatonin comes down. And then vice versa, in the evening, we should have this melatonin is coming up in the evening, our cortisol is going down. However, as I had yesterday, people saying, I wake up in the middle of the night, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not ready to be awake, but I have almost like a jitteriness or anxiousness, I'll go to the bathroom and then sometimes be able to fall back asleep. That is cortisol, that anxiousness, that sometimes it's also with like a hot sweat. That is cortisol being out of balance with really a timing when we should have our melatonin in there, keeping everything nice and calm, restoring, detoxification happening, our liver being able to clear and cleanse. Instead, a lot of times what happens is we never fully get to go through all those processes. So people nowadays will have more and more often, I'm seeing people come in with non-alcohol fatty liver disease, or just in general organ systems that have fat around them, which is a huge risk factor. But we can unwind this by some of the things I already mentioned. And when I'm seeing this waking at night, I say, okay, we ideally don't want to eat 2 to 3 hours before going to bed. However, if you are waking up, I would like to try adding in a snack, so like a handful or one serving of, or maybe a half a serving of protein. You could have a little bit of healthy fat, a little bit of carb in there, just enough to stabilize that blood sugar throughout the night and see if that's enough to get you to sleep. Oftentimes, I've had people trying to do intermittent fasting say that that was actually key for them to start sleeping through the night again. Another component that we talked about yesterday, since we bridged from cortisol, that brought in the third component of sleep. And with supporting sleep and the nervous system and cortisol, they kind of go together, but I do have them as two separate because some people do fine with one or the other. But when they're both involved, magnesium can be a super simple but very effective way as well to help calm the nervous system to get into a restful sleep. And it helps with digestion if you don't go to the bathroom regularly, in certain forms of magnesium, like magnesium citrate. And it's about getting the therapeutic dosing, though. One capsule is usually like 250 milligrams. So if that's not enough, try 500, or maybe doing 3 capsules. But usually like 500 milligrams is enough for people to notice if that is the factor that could support them. Fun fact, I did give a recipe too yesterday on how to get magnesium without taking a capsule if you want to try to do it even more naturally. And you just take a banana and cut off each end, wash the banana, take the actual banana out. Maybe you had it earlier as a snack. And then you boil that banana peel in water for about 5 to 10 minutes, strain out the water, and you're going to drink that water once it cools down. That water is now packed with magnesium. So I would love to see anybody out there who tries this and what your thoughts are. You can make it essentially like banana tea. And the component there as we bring in magnesium is underlying magnesium is a mineral or electrolyte. And a lot of times our bodies are missing something, and that's why we have different symptoms. So potassium and magnesium are big ones for relaxing the muscles, which if we're tense and stressed all the time, our muscles use a lot of magnesium and potassium because we're trying to get relaxed. They also use calcium because that's what actually makes the muscle contract. And then potassium and sodium allow to relax. They're also on every single cell in our body that allows for things to clear out of the cells and go into the cells through the little channels. So very, very important to make sure you're getting in the minerals. We talked about sourcing later in the discussion. Somebody brought up water. It was like, perfect. Yes, we haven't touched on that. Water is so very important too. Or I would say more so your hydration of what you're absorbing. If you drink bottled water that you don't know the sourcing, or if you use reverse osmosis to purify your water, we have to put minerals back in. Otherwise, we will have deficiencies in the body. So if you have that or a great source, then use that type of water so it's actually hydrating. Or I mentioned I didn't look up the name. I can see if I can post it, but I use like an ocean mineral blend or a trace mineral blend that you just add to your water. If you have reverse osmosis or water that doesn't have the minerals in it, you can add those minerals in. The hype everywhere we see electrolyte powders and drinks, they are meant to replenish, but they're really meant to replenish for athletes or people who are sweating. So maybe after a sauna or whatnot, but really they usually have sugar or some form of a sweetener in it to make it more palatable. But that sugar sweetener is not the main part. We need the minerals, which is why I like just the pure like ocean minerals or Himalayan sea salt, or you can make getting like an actual salt that you leave in water and then you take a scoop of that water to put into your water, especially for these minerals I mentioned before bed, but also first thing in the morning to support those adrenal glands, which produce your cortisol. And I'll bring this in since we talked about it yesterday. We have these different levels of energy, since I love talking about energy. When our adrenals are getting tired, it's all about the response in the body. And usually at first, people are able to push through. The body produces more cortisol. We're able to get through our days until we can't. And then sometimes we'll have a spike at night before we go to bed. So we're like, oh, now I'm going to clean. But now our circadian rhythm, that melatonin cortisol pattern is off. And then we're tired in the morning. And then the next step is like, okay, we have this overall level of where our body just isn't even responding to cortisol and we're feeling tired all day long. And we probably all know somebody who's like the coffee drinker or needs a stimulant like every couple of hours to keep going. There's something wrong in your body that is not in balance that we need to bring into balance to support your overall foundational health of what's happening. So, okay, that's our mineral topic that brings in nutrition with our protein emphasis and like things like Whole30, reducing sugar and simple carbohydrates, cortisol and the balance of hormones, and how that impacts sleep. So the next factor I'll bring in with cortisol is that our cortisol on our hormone tree, we have cholesterol that comes into the body, and that cholesterol converts into pregnenolone, which is a word you don't really need to worry about, but it converts into progesterone and then cortisol, or it comes over here and converts into our testosterone and our estrogens, DHEA on this side. So what happens if we are stressed and we're converting, especially on the female side, converting all of our progesterone into cortisol, there's an imbalance of progesterone and estrogen, which side effect is usually tiredness, disrupted sleep, like bloating, overall just not feeling well. Usually like different cycle, even if you're not cycling, like maybe breast tenderness or just not feeling well when we would be cycling. And go back to, okay, we need to help metabolize cortisol. So there are different factors like magnolia and magnesium and L-theanine, things that help bring down cortisol levels at night to help with sleep. Some people are able to take melatonin and that is enough to overcome the cortisol load. But when it's not, we need to support like metabolizing out cortisol to maintain our melatonin. And then we don't need to take the melatonin. We just need to manage our cortisol. So those are huge factors that kind of all tie into that sleep component. So the next one, and probably the biggest factor that people are often doing wrong, is movement. We are beings that are meant to be moving every single day, every hour of the day if possible. And it doesn't have to be vigorous. In fact, we don't usually want it to be super vigorous. So I shared some data that I used to use when I was working at another center and actually measuring body composition in people through this really cool bod pod that you go and sit inside, and it gives you your lean body mass and your fat mass and what actually changes when you make different changes over a month. So you can see, oh, my scale isn't moving, like I'm still however much I weigh. But when you go into that system, it tells you you actually lost fat mass and gained lean body mass because you're eating more protein, you're moving more, you're sleeping, managing your sleep cycle better. So that's the importance of knowing what's happening inside. Doesn't always reflect on the scale that you're looking at, and usually doesn't. It will catch up though as you continue and you engage consistency. So what does movement look like then? Two factors. Your aerobic exercise should be moving as much as you can during the day. I rarely get to go to the gym anymore. In fact, I don't know when I was in a gym last, but when I have kids doing sports, I often will get in kind of a workout through like either a track they have above the hockey rink or doing some body weight exercises at home, which I've been doing on my Facebook lately too, because it doesn't have to be complicated. It's just doing it every single day. And these body weight exercises, okay, so aerobic was the first one. So let me break that down first. And the category or where we want our heart rate to be is a formula. If you take 120 minus your age, that's going to give you a number. And so let's say you're 20 years old. That's going to give you the number 200. You multiply that by 0.5. So in that case, I'm doing easy math, is 100 beats per minute would be like your 50% range. And then you want to multiply that 200 by 0.75. And that's going to be your threshold range of 50 to 75%, which is our moderate exercise range. And that's where we want to be for, I didn't bring this number up yesterday, but 120 minutes a week, even better with metabolic health, 240 minutes a week in that range. If you don't want to measure with your heart rate, generally it's you're walking vigorously, or maybe walking at an incline is a great exercise, but you can still carry on a conversation. The next range up is 75 to 90%, and you would just calculate out the same way. If you were at that 200 number, multiply it by 0.75 and 0.9, that is your vigorous range, where you have maybe intervals where you're in that for just a couple minutes and then you bring it back down. Why does it matter? How many of you have heard of somebody saying, I want to lose weight, or I want to get, whatever it is. So I started going to the gym and running for 2 miles and I feel exhausted when I get off, or I'm not losing the weight even though I'm doing it. It's because that is actually, remember our cortisol threshold here instead of here, you're actually boosting even more cortisol response. It's stressing out your body, which is why exercise is good when we're not already stressed out though. And it works our heart, which is good for our cardiovascular system when we're not already stressed out. So we want to be in that moderate range. And the next part of it is the building lean body mass. So doing your strength training through body weight exercises, and the ideal range in there is 15 to 20 repetitions and doing 3 sets of them. Doing something every day where you're doing 15 to 20 reps, doing 3 sets of them. If that seems like a lot, start with 10, which is what I'm having people do right now. Can you do 10 jumping jacks? Can you do 10 like sitting in a chair and bringing your arms up and down? Can you hold your arms out or do little circles for 10 seconds? And then maybe can you do it for 10 seconds 3 times, or maybe a minute? And doing your wall sit, or maybe you're in a chair and you just kind of gently bring your weight off of the chair, but you're supporting it with your legs. That's what body weight can look like in different modifications. And that's what I really want and emphasizing in that daily Facebook series of something you can do every day that is body weight, that you will start to notice a difference and see the difference in the tone in your body, your mindset for sticking with something continuously and consistently. So those are my guidelines that I would say for movement wise, especially with metabolic health. Those are the guidelines I go for to help support your metabolic health. Building lean body mass is the key, but we need the energy to do that first. So we're going to get energy through eating more protein, which I have some patients that it's really fun to see because they had a plateau for a while. They were also doing some of the laser work as well and noticing a difference in the inches, but not necessarily all the other, the weight on the scale and whatnot. And about 4 to 5, some of them it's been about 6 weeks with this one product added on, which is helping to support metabolic health, adding that one product. They are coming in like, I am now able to go start cleaning out my garage. I am getting up and going to the gym, even if it's walking for 30 minutes every single day. That's what I do at this certain time. It's creating patterns and lifestyle habits that then your body and cortisol also resets because you have structure and control over what is happening, and you see the changes in your energy, in your willpower, in your ability when you're at that plateau, and you can easily go back down the other path and start stopping at the fast food again, or just picking up whatever at the store, or skipping your workout. Or at that point, you say, oh my gosh, I'm seeing these results and it is so hard right now, but I have some support from family and I have a goal I want to reach. I'm seeing that I have more space. We talked about decluttering. You have more space. time and energy to declutter around the house, which then you also feel better, or you're doing your deep cleaning. So these are all factors that play into us as metabolic, as energetic beings, that we're here to live. We're here to be able to manage these things and go outside and go hiking, or picking all the vegetables out of the garden, or maintaining our garden, or whatever that might be for you, and still feeling good while do it, and feeling good the next day as well to do it again. So I hope this is helpful. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I mentioned yesterday, but I think this was the bulk of it. And if you are ready for this change, you are ready to see the results that people like my friend are seeing, of having a blood pressure that is within range, that has never, that as far as we can remember, has never been in range on medication. Now without medication, it is in range. I'm not saying or advising to just stop whatever you're doing, but I'm saying that this one product, along with some of these foundational factors, are creating changes within a couple of weeks, within a month, seeing and noticing and feeling a difference, which is what I'm really, really excited about. I had somebody else message me, and there are so many products out there that you can send me a label and say, these products, yes, the ingredients look great in here based on what I know with all of the training I've had. Is it going to work for you? I don't know. Yes, it might be amazing. We need to track some data. But the ones I'm seeing right now, I am seeing the changes in the data and in the person, which, putting those together, is where I want to be, in helping people make it easier to be healthier. And it doesn't have to be forever. We're creating the lifestyle changes that will then take you onward without having to take something every day. I don't take something every day. I when there's something that comes up, yes, I will take things consistently. And then when I'm feeling where I'm balanced again, it goes away. A lot of times in the cupboard that my husband is like, we have too much stuff in here. But when I need it, it is there. And consistency is key, though, to begin with. If you have something that has been building up for a decade, or a couple decades, or several decades, it takes consistency, giving at least a month per year that something has been happening. So I like to put in that piece of reality that it doesn't have to be forever, but it does need to be consistent for a set period of time. And that's why I'm here too, as accountability, to check in with, to share your wins with, because the social part of it is so important, as well as what you're seeing and feeling. And it can reiterate and help you see, oh, last month you were taking a nap every day for 1 to 2 hours, and now you are out walking at the gym instead. That's huge, and feeling good about it. So I hope you can feel my excitement in this. And I'm really excited about the company I'm using right now too, because they have 3 new products that are coming into play as well. And I'm really excited of what that's going to be, because there are still gaps in what they offer. But there's one, two, three, I would say 3 solid, probably 4, that in most people I'm seeing, one of those 4 products is like the missing link to what they're feeling and actually getting the results that they want to use. So I will probably talk about another one of those next week, because this one this week is really metabolism. The next factor I'll probably integrate in next week is like when you've got things happening systemically, because that came up yesterday, is the aspect of pain and not being able to do things. So we did some modifications of how that would look like in a person who has pain or discomfort. What are some of the tweaks we can make? And I will say that one of the things topically that you can do is, there's a formula called Active 10, and it has, I think it's 11 natural ingredients in it. You can get it online at different places, but what it does with the cayenne in it, or if you have something else with cayenne, is it works on substance P. So it essentially inhibits the pain signaling to that area, so you can get some relief to then be able to move, to be able to sleep, to find that link. I'm also really loving, since I'm on the pain topic really briefly, and it came up yesterday, and it does play out in metabolic health because it creates cortisol, is loving laser therapy, low-level laser therapy, or the bioenergetics work that I do with the little patches that you can put on, patches that help you with well-being, this sense of well-being, or stress and anxiety, or pain and inflammation, that can be so simple. Again, I'm all about creating it in a simple way. And people are loving the patches. I'm glad I brought them back to the forefront again. So reach out if you are ready, and or if you know somebody else who is really needing to hear this, that exciting things are happening if you're ready to commit to consistency and simplicity as well. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will be recording these weekly, I believe, or maybe joining in on the conversations we're doing on Tuesdays in person. I might just be recording those, but this week we will see how it goes. So let me know too what your thoughts are, if you'd rather have this version where there's no extra discussion, or whether you actually feel you'd want to be in that room kind of with us, either joining from Zoom or getting that sense of like what people's questions are, because I just summarized them today. But I'm really excited about this, and I will talk to you soon.